The wind howled through the empty junkyard, carrying the smell of rust and burnt metal. Broken machines lay everywhere. Twisted arms of robots, shattered screens, and cracked engines. The sky above was dark, clouds rolling heavy as if even nature had turned its face away from this place. In the middle of all this broken metal sat a girl not human. Her skin carried a soft glow, pale and silver like moonlight. Her eyes shined with a faint blue light, but her body was weak, her legs did not move. She was paralyzed from the waist down. The aliens who had once been her people dragged her here. They whispered cruel words, called her useless, broken, a burden. They laughed while tossing her into the junk as if she was nothing more than trash. Their footsteps faded, leaving only silence. She tried to move, but her body betrayed her. The cold metal ground pressed against her back, sharp edges cutting her skin. She closed her eyes. Fighting tears, she was alive, but to them she was already dead. The junkyard was no place for the living. Rusted claws of old machines still moved sometimes without warning. Hungry scavenger droids crept in shadows, and when the night came, wild creatures from the wasteland sneaked through holes in the fences. Her heart beat faster with every strange sound. But she could not run, she could not hide. She whispered to herself, "Please, someone, don't leave me here." But no one answered. The sky grew darker, the wind colder. She felt her hope slipping away. Then footsteps echoed. Not alien footsteps, slower, heavier. A human walked into the junkyard. His boots crushed broken glass, his eyes searching between the piles of scrap. He wore old clothes covered with dust. His face looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. He came here often. Searching for parts he could sell, he stopped. His gaze caught something unusual, between heaps of broken wires and engines. He saw movement, a faint blue glow. At first, he thought it was just a machine still alive. But then he saw her face, eyes glowing softly, lips trembling as if trying to speak. His heart skipped. "What is this?" he whispered. He moved closer. His shadow fell over her. The alien girl tried to speak, but her throat was dry. "Help." She managed just one word, but heavy with pain. The man froze. His first thought was to leave. Aliens were trouble, especially one that looked like this. If she was here, it meant her own people had abandoned her. Who was he to interfere? He had nothing, barely enough to survive himself. He should turn around and walk away. But then he looked into her eyes. They were not the eyes of an enemy, not the eyes of someone dangerous. They were eyes filled with fear, with loneliness and something else, hope. A hope that maybe he would not leave her like everyone else. The human knelt down beside her. "Can you move?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. He sighed, running a hand through his messy hair. "Figures," he muttered. His voice was rough but not unkind. He reached out carefully, touching the cold chain tied to her wrist. It was heavy, rusted, and sharp against her glowing skin. He frowned. "They left you here chained in this graveyard?" His chest tightened with anger. He tugged at the chain, testing its strength. She watched him with wide eyes, not knowing if he would really help or just laugh at her like the others. For a moment, silence stretched between them, only the sound of metal creaking around them. Then he spoke again, softer this time. "Don't worry. I'm not going to leave you like this." His words carried weight, not promises made lightly. He pulled a small tool from his belt. Sparks flew as he tried to break the chain. It resisted, but he kept working. Sweat gathered on his forehead. The girl's eyes filled with tears. She whispered again, "Why? Why are you helping me?" The human paused, looking at her. "Because you don't deserve this," he said simply. His voice was steady, firm. The chain finally broke, falling with a heavy clang onto the metal ground. The sound echoed through the junkyard like thunder. Somewhere in the shadows, a scavenger droid stirred, its red eye blinking awake. The human glanced up, senses sharp. He knew they were not alone. This junkyard was dangerous, and freeing her had just made him a target. He tightened his grip on the broken chain, ready to use it as a weapon if needed. The alien girl looked at him, her lips trembling as she whispered, "Don't leave me." He nodded, his jaw set. "I won't," he said. And for the first time in her life, she believed someone meant those words. But danger was already crawling closer through the shadows. The junkyard prison was about to show its true horror. The junkyard was not silent anymore. A faint humming noise grew louder as small scavenger droids rolled out from behind the piles of broken engines. Their red sensors blinked like angry eyes in the dark. The human tightened his grip on the broken chain, holding it like a whip. The alien girl lay on the ground, her glowing eyes filled with fear. He had two choices: walk away and save his own life, or stay and fight for someone who meant nothing to him. His breath came heavy, his mind racing. He whispered to himself, "Why am I even doing this?" The scavenger droids clicked and screeched. They smelled weakness, they smelled prey. One droid leapt forward, its sharp claw reaching for the girl's face. The human swung the chain with all his strength. Metal clashed, sparks flew, the droid fell back broken. Another came from the left, he kicked it hard, sending it crashing into a pile of scrap. More were coming. He knew he couldn't fight forever, but leaving her was not an option anymore. His heart refused to abandon her. The alien girl tried to lift her arm, but her strength was fading. "Go," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Don't risk your life for me." The human turned sharply toward her. "Shut up," he said in a low, angry voice. "I didn't break your chains just to leave you lying here." He grabbed a metal pipe from the ground and swung it at the closest droid. The sound of crushing steel echoed through the night. For a moment, silence returned. The droids pulled back into the shadows, their glowing eyes fading one by one. But the danger was not gone. The human knew they would return in greater numbers. He knelt beside the alien girl again, his hands trembling slightly from the fight. "We don't have much time," he muttered. He looked at her weak legs, then at the endless scrap piles around them. Carrying her would slow him down. It could mean death for both of them. Still, he reached under her arms and carefully lifted her. She gasped softly, surprised by his strength. He struggled to keep balance as he stood. She was lighter than he expected, but the weight of the choice pressed heavier on him than anything else. "Why?" she asked again, her voice barely a whisper. "Why won't you leave me like they did?" The human's jaw clenched. He didn't look at her, just kept walking. "Because I'm not like them," he said simply. Every step echoed against the hollow ground of the junkyard. The piles of broken machines loomed like mountains. Shadows moved above them, and the girl tightened her grip on his shirt. Her heart pounded, afraid every sound meant another attack. They stopped under a broken tower of scrap where the wind cut through holes in the metal. The human lowered her gently onto a flat piece of steel. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and leaned against the wall, breathing hard. He looked at her again. Really looked. Her face was young, almost fragile. But her glowing eyes carried something old. Pain, betrayal, and a strength buried deep. He wondered what kind of people would throw away someone like her. "You're human," she said softly. "Your kind is not welcome in these lands. Why risk yourself?" He gave a small laugh, tired and bitter. "My kind isn't welcome anywhere. Not even on our own world sometimes." He shook his head. "But you're still breathing. That's enough reason." She stared at him as if trying to understand. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever seen her as anything more than broken. For a moment, silence stretched again, but it was different this time. Less cold, more alive. The human stood up, adjusting the strap on his bag. "We need to move before those droids come back," he said. "Can you hold on if I carry you?" She nodded weakly. "I will try." He lifted her again, adjusting her carefully. Her glowing skin brushed against his arm, leaving faint traces of warmth. Despite the weight, he walked with steady steps. The junkyard stretched endlessly, filled with shadows that hid danger. Every sound made his muscles tighten. His mind kept asking the same question. Why was he risking his life for a stranger? But deep down he already knew the answer. He had seen the loneliness in her eyes, the same loneliness he carried inside himself. And that was enough. Behind them, faint red lights blinked again. The scavenger droids were returning, stronger and louder. Their metallic screeches echoed through the night like a hunting song. The human clenched his jaw, tightening his hold on her. "We'll make it out," he whispered, "even if it kills me." The alien girl closed her eyes, holding on to his words as if they were the only light left in the darkness. For the first time since her people abandoned her, she dared to believe, but the junkyard was far from finished with them ahead. A shadow rose, something bigger than the droids, something alive, waiting in the ruins. The human stopped, his grip tightening. His choice had already been made, but now he would face the cost of it. The shadow ahead moved slowly, heavy steps crushing the piles of junk under its weight. The human froze, his heart pounding. He tightened his grip on the alien girl, holding her close. Out of the smoke and broken metal rose a machine beast. Taller than 3 men, its body was built from the scraps of old war machines. Jagged plates and sharp claws bolted together. A glowing red core pulsed in its chest. Like a heart made of fire, its head turned with a grinding noise, and its single eye focused on the human and the girl. The alien girl's breath caught. Her voice trembled. "That is a junk guardian. They left it here to destroy anything that does not belong. It will not stop until we are gone or dead." The human's jaw clenched. He had no gun, no armor, nothing but a broken chain and the weight of the girl in his arms. But walking away was not an option anymore. He whispered, more to himself than to her. "Then we fight," the guardian roared, the sound echoing across the junkyard like thunder. The ground shook as it charged forward. Its claws raised to strike. The human dropped low, rolling to the side with the girl in his arms. The claw smashed into the ground where they had stood, sending shards of metal flying. He winced as sharp edges cut his arm, but he kept moving. He ducked behind a heap of scrap, breathing hard. The girl looked at him with fear. "You can't win against it, leave me. Save yourself." The human's eyes burned. "Not happening," he said firmly. He scanned the junk around him, broken pipes, shattered panels, loose wires. His mind raced, turning chaos into opportunity. Humans had no natural claws, no glowing powers, but they had something else, imagination. He laid her down gently against a safe corner. "Stay here no matter what," he said. She wanted to protest, but his voice carried a fire that silenced her. The human picked up a long pipe and some loose wire. His hands worked fast, wrapping the wire tightly around the end, creating a crude spear. It was far from perfect, but it was something. The junk guardian stepped closer, its heavy feet smashing everything in its path. It raised its head, releasing a shriek that made the ground tremble. The human ran forward, his spear aimed at the glowing core. He leapt, driving the pipe as hard as he could. Sparks exploded, but the core did not break. Instead, the beast swung its arm. Hitting him hard, he flew across the ground, landing with a painful thud. The girl cried out, her voice echoing through the ruins. "No!" The human groaned, forcing himself up. His body ached. Blood ran down his arm, but he stood again, his eyes locked on the beast, determination burning stronger than pain. The guardian charged again, but this time, the human did not run straight. He darted between piles of scrap, forcing the beast to smash into its own walls. Each crash sent metal raining down on its back, weakening its frame. The girl watched, her heart pounding. Her eyes glowed brighter as if her hidden power was stirring. She whispered words in her own alien language, words of strength, words of hope. The human grabbed a broken engine piece, heavy but sharp, and threw it at the guardian's leg joint. The impact made the beast stumble. Its movement slowed, grinding noises filling the air. "This is our chance," he shouted. His eyes flicked to her, and for the first time, she felt he was not just fighting for himself. He was fighting for her. The girl focused, her faint energy flowing into the broken ground. For a moment, blue light shimmered beneath the junk. A pulse of energy shook the earth, just enough to make the guardian lose its balance. The human didn't hesitate. He sprinted forward, grabbed his broken chain, and leapt onto the beast's back, wrapping the chain around the glowing core. He pulled with all his strength. The beast roared, thrashing wildly. Sparks exploded as the chain cut into the metal. "Come on," he shouted through clenched teeth. His arms trembled, his body screamed with pain, but he did not let go. The core cracked, a blinding light burst out. The guardian screamed one last time before collapsing, shaking the ground as it fell lifeless. Dust filled the air. Silence returned. The human stood on top of the fallen beast, chest heaving. Sweat ran down his face, but his eyes were alive. He had survived. They had survived. He stumbled back to the girl, lifting her gently again. She looked at him with awe, her voice soft. You defeated it." He gave a small, tired smile. "Not alone," he said. "You helped me. I felt it." Her eyes widened. She had not told him about her hidden power, but somehow he sensed it for the first time in years. She felt seen, truly seen. The human carried her forward, stepping past the smoking ruin of the guardian. But his mind knew this was only the beginning. If her own people abandoned her, if machines hunted her, then there was a bigger reason. As the junkyard stretched endlessly before them, a cold wind whispered of dangers yet to come. The junkyard was quiet again, but it was not the silence of safety. It was the silence of something watching, waiting. The human held the alien girl close as he stepped carefully over piles of broken metal. Every sound seemed louder now, the crunch of his boots, The whisper of the cold wind, the faint hum of machines still alive in the shadows. The alien girl pressed her hand against his chest, her glowing eyes searching the darkness. "It isn't over," she whispered. That guardian wasn't alone. The human's jaw tightened. He already felt it. The air was heavy, filled with a strange vibration. Like the junk itself was alive, he stopped, scanning the heaps around them. Then he saw it. A massive shape moved between the towers of scrap. At first it looked like a mountain shifting, but then pieces of metal began to fall away, revealing claws the size of spears and a head shaped like a broken helmet. This was no single machine. It was a creature born from the junk itself. Hundreds of parts melted into one terrifying monster. The girl gasped softly. The scrap colossus. Her voice trembled. "It only wakes when intruders enter too deep. It eats everything, metal, machines, even flesh." The human stared at it. His throat dry, the beast's eyes glowed with fire. Its body twisting with cables and rusted gears. Each step it took shook the ground. Pieces of sharp metal raining down from its frame, the human whispered. "Great," as if one monster wasn't enough. He adjusted his hold on the girl, his muscles already burning with exhaustion. He had barely survived the first fight, and now this thing stood between them and escape. The colossus let out a roar that echoed like thunder. The towers of junk shook and collapsed, spilling rivers of scrap down the slopes. The girl clung to him, her voice desperate. "You can't fight it, no one can." But the human's eyes hardened. "Maybe no one tried the human way," he said. The beast charged, its claws slicing through the air. The human leapt aside, rolling behind a rusted vehicle. The ground shook as the claw slammed down, shattering the old machine like glass. He pulled the girl tighter to his chest, his mind racing. He knew brute strength wouldn't save them this time. He needed something smarter, something the beast couldn't expect. His eyes scanned the junk around him. Fuel tanks, broken circuits, half-dead batteries. "Dangerous but useful, hold on," he told the girl. She buried her face against him, trusting without question. The human darted through the piles, using the colossus's size against it. The beast swung wildly, but its huge frame made it slow. Each missed strike only buried its claws deeper into the scrap. The human dodged left and right, leading it toward the largest tower of broken fuel tanks. The girl's voice shook. "What are you doing?" He gave a quick, grim smile, turning its hunger against it. As the colossus stepped closer, the ground shook and one of the tanks cracked open, leaking black liquid that shimmered under the pale light. The beast bent its head down, sniffing, then roared as it began sucking the fuel into its burning core. Its chest glowed brighter, hotter. The human's eyes narrowed. "Good, eat up," he muttered. He placed the girl safely behind a slab of metal and grabbed a loose battery pack from the ground. Its wires sparked weakly, but enough. He tied it quickly with scrap wires, turning it into a crude bomb. The beast raised its head again, glowing brighter now. Its massive claws lifted to strike. The human ran straight toward it, heart racing. He hurled the sparking pack directly into the leaking fuel. The reaction was instant. Boom! The ground exploded, flames shot into the air. The colossus staggered back, roaring in pain as fire spread across its chest. Its glowing core flickered wildly. The human shielded the girl with his body as metal rained down. The explosion shook the entire junkyard. When the dust cleared, the colossus still stood, but weaker now, parts of its frame falling off in burning chunks. The human's chest rose and fell rapidly, sweat and ash covering his face. He looked at the girl. "We're not done yet," the beast roared again. Stumbling forward, its eye burned with rage. But the human felt something new, a faint warmth against his arm. He looked down. The alien girl's hand glowed softly, energy pulsing from her palm. Her voice was soft but steady. "I can help, but only if you hold me closer." He didn't question. He pulled her tight, and suddenly the glow from her spread into him. His tired arms felt lighter, his mind clearer. The pain in his wounds faded just enough. It wasn't full strength, but it was hope together. They faced the burning monster as it staggered toward them. The girl whispered, "Aim for the heart." "I will guide your hand." The human picked up a long, jagged pipe, holding it like a spear. The colossus let out one final roar. Charging through the flames, the human roared back, running forward with the girl's glow wrapped around him. The pipe struck deep into the burning core. Her energy surged through it like lightning. The colossus screamed, fire tearing out from every crack in its body. It fell to its knees, then collapsed in a storm of flames and broken metal, Silence returned, but this time it was different. The junkyard did not feel like a grave anymore. It felt like survival, like a choice that mattered. The human dropped to his knees. Exhausted, he held the girl close, both of them breathing hard. Her glowing eyes softened as she looked at him. "You saved me again." He shook his head, his voice low. "No, we saved each other." But even as he said it, far away in the darkness, other red lights began to blink awake. The junkyard still had more secrets, and they were far from free. The flames of the fallen colossus still burned, lighting the junkyard with a sickly orange glow. The human sat against a broken engine, his chest heaving, his arms ached, his body cut and bruised. But his eyes stayed on the alien girl resting in his arms. Her glow had dimmed. She looked fragile, almost like she could fade into the shadows at any moment. Still, there was something in her eyes now that wasn't there before: trust. For a long moment neither spoke. Only the crackle of fire and the groan of metal filled the air. Finally, the girl broke the silence. Her voice soft. "You don't even know my name. And yet you risked everything for me." The human gave a tired half smile. "Names don't matter, you're alive, that's enough." But she shook her head. Her glowing eyes filled with sadness. "No, you need to understand who I am, or none of this will make sense," he frowned, sensing the weight in her tone. He adjusted her gently so she could lean against a flat piece of scrap. Her thin fingers brushed the ground as if she was tracing memories. "I was not always like this," she began. "I was born in the house of Vera, one of the noble bloodlines of my people. My family ruled trade routes across 3 sectors. My mother was powerful, respected, and feared. I was her only daughter." The human listened in silence. His rough, scarred hands clenched slightly. He knew where this story was going. Nobles never ended up in junkyards by accident, she continued, her voice trembling. But when sickness struck me, when my legs stopped working, everything changed. The healers failed, the implants failed, my people. They called me cursed. They said I was broken and useless. A shame to my bloodline. Her eyes filled with tears that glowed faintly in the firelight. So they abandoned me, thrown into the junk like old metal, left to be eaten by the machines. The human's chest tightened. His jaw clenched. He had seen cruelty before, but hearing it from her lips cut deeper. "They left their own child," he muttered bitterly. "Just because you couldn't walk?" She nodded slowly. "Among my kind, strength is everything. Beauty, power, bloodline, all worthless if the body is weak. They would rather see me rot here than carry my shame." The human looked at her. Really looked. For a moment he saw not an alien, not someone different, but a reflection of himself. He too had been left behind, not by family, but by a world that never cared. He knew what it felt like to be treated as nothing. His voice was low but firm. "You are not trash. And anyone who thought so is a fool." Her breath caught. No one had ever said those words to her. Not her family, not her people, only this stranger, this human. She whispered, "Why do you care? I am nothing to you." The human's eyes burned as he leaned closer. "Because I know what it's like to be nothing. And I swore I wouldn't let anyone else feel that way if I could stop it." For the first time, her lips curved into a weak smile, a fragile light breaking through years of darkness. But the moment was cut short in the distance. A loud metallic horn echoed across the junkyard. The human froze. His instincts told him it wasn't machines this time. It was something worse. The girl's face turned pale. "They've come back," she whispered, her voice filled with fear. "The hunters. The ones who threw me here. They're making sure I never leave alive." The human's hand tightened around the broken chain still wrapped on his wrist. His heart pounded. He had already fought machines. Now he would face living enemies, aliens who had power, weapons, and no mercy. The girl looked at him desperately. "You don't understand. They are trained warriors. They won't stop until I am dead. You cannot fight them." The human gave her a sharp look, determination in his voice. "Watch me." She shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Why risk it? They will kill you too. I am not worth your life." He leaned closer, his voice steady, almost like a vow. "You are worth more than they will ever know." The sound of heavy boots clanged against the metal ground. Shadows moved at the edge of the firelight. Armored figures with glowing weapons stepped into view. Their helmets reflected the flames, their eyes locked on the girl. One of them laughed coldly. "Look at this." The broken one still breathes, and with a human pet at her side. How pathetic. The human stood slowly. His muscles tense, his voice was calm but dangerous. "Say another word and you'll regret it," the alien warrior sneered. Lifting his weapon, "A human dares to threaten us?" "You'll die first," the girl clutched the human's arm, her voice trembling. "Please don't fight them. They'll destroy you." But he only placed a reassuring hand over hers, his eyes never leaving the enemy. "I told you. I'm not leaving you, not now. Not ever." The warriors spread out surrounding them. The fire crackled louder as if feeding on the tension. The human's choice had already been made. He would fight not for survival alone, but for her. And in that moment, under the burning sky of the junkyard, a paralyzed alien girl and a tired human stood together against the world that tried to break them both. The junkyard fire burned low, throwing long shadows across the twisted piles of scrap. The human stood tall with the alien girl behind him, his broken chain wrapped tight in one hand, his eyes fixed on the armored warriors closing in. There were 4 of them, each carrying glowing plasma blades. Their armor was black and silver, sharp edges gleaming in the firelight. They moved with the confidence of hunters who had killed many times before. One warrior laughed, his helmet reflecting the flames. Pathetic. She was supposed to be dead already, and now a human carries her like some useless prize. The girl's breath came fast, her hands trembling. She knew these warriors. They were from her mother's guard, the same ones who had dragged her into the junk and left her to rot. Her heart pounded. "We can't fight them," she whispered. "They are trained to kill without hesitation." The human didn't look back at her. His voice was steady, almost calm. "Then I'll make them hesitate." The first warrior lunged forward, plasma blade raised high. The human swung the chain with all his strength. Sparks flew as metal clashed against glowing energy. The force of the impact jolted his arm, but he held on. He twisted, pulling the warrior off balance, and slammed his boot into the alien's chest. The armored figure stumbled back. Crashing into a pile of scrap, the others growled, spreading out, circling him. Their eyes burned with anger. "You will die slowly, human," one hissed. The human's breath came hard, but his eyes stayed sharp. "You'll have to catch me first." He darted between 2 towers of junk. Carrying the girl close, plasma blades slashed behind him, cutting through metal like paper. The night lit with sparks as the hunters chased. Their footsteps thundered across the hollow ground. The girl clung to him, whispering desperately, "Why are you doing this? You can't win against them." His voice was low but fierce. "Because you're worth fighting for, and I don't care what it costs." They reached an open stretch where the junk gave way to a broken factory floor. The hunters closed in fast, blocking every escape. The leader stepped forward, lifting his blade. "End of the road, human. Hand her over and maybe we'll let you die quickly." The human set the girl down gently behind a piece of broken wall. He turned, his shoulders squared, his body was battered, his arms cut, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. "If you want her," he said coldly, "you'll have to go through me." The warriors charged together, 4 blades glowing bright. The human moved fast, ducking low, swinging the chain like a whip. It wrapped around one alien's wrist. He yanked hard. The blade tore free and flew across the floor. Another slashed at him. The human blocked with a piece of scrap metal, sparks showering his face. He kicked low, sending the warrior stumbling, but there were too many. Blows landed, his back burned, his shoulder split open. He gritted his teeth, refusing to fall. The girl's eyes glowed faintly as she reached out, her voice trembling. "Please let me help. I can give you strength again." The human looked at her, sweat dripping down his face. "Do it," he said without hesitation. She pressed her glowing hand against the ground. Blue light pulsed out, flowing into him. His muscles tightened, his wounds eased slightly. His grip on the chain steadied. For the first time, the hunters hesitated. The human attacked with renewed fury. He slammed the chain into one warrior's helmet. Shattering it, the alien screamed, falling back. He spun, driving a broken pipe into another's chest joint. Sparks burst as the armor cracked. The leader growled, stepping forward with rage. His blade cut across the human's side, blood spilled. The pain was sharp, but the human didn't falter. He pushed forward, slamming his shoulder into the leader. Both crashed into the scrap heap. The girl screamed, her voice echoing across the junkyard. Her hands glowed brighter than ever, a surge of blue light erupting from her body. For a moment, the hunters froze. Shielding their eyes, the human used that moment. Grabbing the leader's own blade, he drove it deep into the alien's chest. The warrior roared once before falling silent. The others, seeing their leader fall, pulled back, dragging their injured with them. One spat bitterly. "This isn't over, human. She will die. And you will too." Then they vanished into the shadows. Their footsteps fading, silence returned, broken only by the human's ragged breathing. He staggered back to the girl. Blood dripping from his side, she reached for him. Tears in her glowing eyes. "You're hurt. You shouldn't have done this for me." He dropped to one knee beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. His voice was weak but steady. "I told you. I don't leave people behind." She pressed her hand against his wound, her energy flowing into him again. His pain eased, but her own glow dimmed dangerously. She was giving too much of herself. He caught her wrist gently, shaking his head. "Stop. Don't burn yourself out," she looked at him, her voice breaking. "But if I don't, you'll die." He managed a tired smile. "Then I'll die knowing I made the right choice." Tears slipped down her cheeks. For the first time in her life, someone fought for her, bled for her, not because of her bloodline or power, but simply because he chose to above them. The night sky cracked with thunder. The junkyard trembled, as if the world itself knew more battles were coming. The human looked up, tightening his arm around her. "They'll be back stronger, but so will we." The night was heavy with silence after the hunters left. The junkyard burned faintly, smoke curling into the sky like dark signals of what had just happened. The human sat against a broken wall, his body shaking from exhaustion. Blood stained his side, his hands were raw, yet his eyes stayed clear beside him. The alien girl leaned weakly, her glow dim but still alive. She turned her face toward him, her voice soft. "You fought them all, you should be dead, yet you still breathe." He gave a small, tired laugh. "Stubbornness keeps me alive more than anything else." She studied him, her glowing eyes filled with wonder. "You don't know what you've done. No one has ever stood against them for me. Not even my own family," her voice cracked. "And yet you, a stranger, a human, stood when everyone else walked away." The human looked at her, his face rough but his voice steady. "Because I made a choice, and it was the right one." The alien girl closed her eyes for a moment, tears slipping down. "All my life, I believed I was nothing, just a burden, but you see me as something more?" He reached out, gently brushing the tears from her face. His voice was low but strong. "You're not broken. You're not useless, you're alive, and that's enough reason to fight." For a while, they sat in silence, the firelight dancing across their faces. But peace never lasted long in the junkyard. From the distance came the echo of ships, low hums of engines, lights cutting across the dark sky. The girl stiffened, her voice trembling. "They're coming back, not just hunters this time. They will bring more, maybe an entire squad. They won't stop until I am gone." The human clenched his jaw. Looking up at the sky, he knew she was right. He could fight scavenger droids. He could fight hunters, but if an army came, it would be the end. Still he turned back to her, determination burning in his eyes. "Then we don't stay here, we move. We find a way out." She looked at him with disbelief. "You'd risk running with me, even if it means they'll chase you forever?" He gave her a tired smile. "I already decided the moment I broke your chains. I don't regret it." Her chest tightened, a warmth she had never felt before rising inside her. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving. She was wanted, protected, seen. The human carefully lifted her again, though his body screamed in protest. Every step sent pain through him, but he kept moving. His mind focused only on the promise he had made. "I won't leave you." The junkyard stretched endlessly, piles of rust glowing faintly under the burning sky. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound a threat. Yet together they pressed on. After a long walk, they reached the edge of the junkyard, where the fences were broken and the wasteland stretched wide. The stars shone faintly above the horizon, freedom just beyond reach. The girl looked at him, her voice soft. "If we cross into the wasteland, there's no safety, no food, only storms and beasts. You'll die out there with me." He shook his head, his grip firm. "Better to die free than live as trash." Her eyes widened, her heart trembling at his words. She realized then that this bond between them was no accident. It was fate, but before they could take another step, the sky split open. A massive ship descended, its lights flooding the wasteland. Its shadow covered the ground like a dark hand. The hunters had returned faster than expected, this time with reinforcements. The human's face hardened, His body tensed for another fight, but the girl placed her glowing hand on his cheek. Stopping him, her voice was calm, almost serene. "No, this fight is mine now." He stared at her in shock. "What are you saying?" Her eyes burned brighter, her glow returning stronger than ever. "I thought my weakness was my curse, but maybe it was meant to bring me here to you. Because now I see strength isn't in walking or fighting alone. It's in standing together, it's in the bond we share." Blue light erupted from her body, spreading like waves across the junkyard. The ground trembled, broken machines sparked awake. Not as enemies, but as shields, her power, once hidden, now blazed. The hunters froze, their ship halting mid-descent as the wave of light pushed against it. The human shielded his eyes, awe filling him. You were never weak," he whispered. The girl smiled softly through her tears. "I just needed someone to remind me." The ship struggled, its engines flickering under the force of her energy. The hunters shouted in panic, their weapons useless against the surge of light. For the first time, they were the ones afraid. The human tightened his arm around her, whispering, "We can win this. Together." She nodded, her glow burning brighter, merging with the fire still smoldering in the junkyard. Together they stood against the darkness. And in that moment something changed forever. A paralyzed alien girl once abandoned in trash and a human once forgotten by his own kind had found each other. Their bond was stronger than any weapon, any army, any fear. The junkyard was no longer a prison. It had become the place where hope was reborn. The battle ahead would be fierce, but neither of them felt alone anymore. For in each other, they had found the strength to rise,